Hello, and welcome to Explore Your Roots. Today's episode is going to cover an individual by the name of John Weaver. He is a relative from my dad's side of the family, and his life story is a fun one to piece together, so tune in to learn more. So as usual, my investigation was done through genealogy websites where I found a lot of information and records. I said that John Weaver's story was a fun one to research, and that is because I could not find a single document or really kind of a summary, which meant I was able to kind of start from scratch and piece things together myself, which is really fun for me. Okay, so to begin, John Weaver is my sixth great grandfather. So my connection to him goes like this. It begins with me, then goes to my dad, then his mother, Ruth Ann, then her mother, Genevieve, then her mother, Sarah Loella, then her mother, Martha, then her father, Gilbert, then his father, Edward, then his father is the topic of today's episode, John Weaver. Okay, so John Weaver was born on October 2nd, 1776, in Saratoga County, New York. He was the third of 8 children born to Edward Weaver and Mary Smith. His father, Edward, actually served in the Revolutionary War as an ensign in Captain Amos Hutchins' company of Colonel Louis Dubois' New York Regiment. So not much is written about his childhood, but we can assume that him and his family had a relatively nice life growing up at this time in New York. John, in 1795, when he was around 20 years old, met his future wife, Catherine Reasoner, who was 3 years older than him, and in 1795, John married Catherine in Stillwater, New York. John and Catherine continued living in and around the Saratoga and Stillwater areas, and they were very prolific and had 13 children total, almost all of which lived to adulthood. Polly was the first child born in 1796, followed by Sarah in 1797, then Edward, of whom I come through, was born in 1799, then Elizabeth was born in 1801, then Catherine was born in 1802, then Lydia was born in 1804, and Anne was born in 1806, followed by Harriet in 1808, then Clarissa in 1810, and John in 1812, Angeline in 1813, Henry in 1815, and the last child, Linus, was born in 1818. John was a skilled craftsman, especially excelling at being a tailor. Sometime around 1815, John must have saw an opportunity and moved him and his 13 children to Dryden, New York, which is in the Tompkins County. Interestingly enough, in a book titled The Centennial History of the town of Dryden, written in the late 1800s, actually mentions John Weaver and his family. On page 140 of this book, and I'll put a link to that book in the description, it says, "The first tailor was John Weaver, who had a little family of children from which only 9 attended school at one time." From this statement, we can tell that John perhaps saw a business opportunity and was willing and apt enough to take all of his 13 children and move. I think it is also safe to say that John was a good father and raised his children well, as all the written records about his children say that they were all very generous and charitable people. John and his family lived in Dryden for years. Interestingly enough, there is a record in 1835 of John Weaver receiving a pension for joining the New York militia around 1822. I was unable to see the actual document and only the transcribed information, so it would be interesting to verify if this fact is indeed true. Sometime in the 1830s, when most of his 13 children were older and out of the house, John, along with some of his elder children and their spouses, moved to Crawford County, Pennsylvania, where there was new land becoming available for purchase. Apparently, most of John's children, including those already married, all moved to Crawford County around the same time. John's sons are listed as farmers, so John might have picked up farming as well or continued being a tailor. In 1835, when John was 59 years old, some of his elder children moved west to Missouri and Illinois, but John, his wife, and the rest of their children stayed in Pennsylvania. On July 21st, 1847, still in Crawford County, Pennsylvania, John Weaver passed away of some unknown cause, possibly old age, being 72 years, 2 months, and 19 days old, as is stated on his headstone in the Baldwin Snyder Cemetery. Sometime after his death, his wife Catherine moved back to Stillwater, New York, and lived until 1854. Though not too much information is known, I think we can still learn something from John Weaver's life. For me, and in my investigation, and from all the facts that we have learned, I think John was a good father. Having 13 children, I'm sure was no easy feat, and yet all his children turned out to be great and charitable people. I think we can also learn of John's example to look for opportunity and follow it, as John did a handful of times in his life, such as moving to a new town to be the first and only tailor, or moving to Pennsylvania for a chance to work some land. In both cases, John exhibited courage and faith in his ability to work and maximize his skills. I again encourage you all to learn something about your own ancestors and share it with your friends and family. I also hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, feel free to subscribe to us here on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and give our content a thumbs up.